Welcome to the webinar, Stress Less, 5 Simple Shifts to Make It Through the Holidays When Divorce is in Your Future. My name is Pamela Elaine Nichols, and I'm delighted to introduce to you a very special guest who's going to walk us through 5 simple shifts to make it through the holidays when divorce is in your future. It is my pleasure and delight to introduce to you Attorney Lenore Myers. She's going to talk about how to make it through the holidays when divorce is in your future. Lenore is one of my clients. She is a divorce attorney who specializes in mediation. Lenore is going to share a little bit more about what she does, but I just want to speak personally for a moment about Lenore. I tease her often saying, where were you when I was going through my divorce? Because had I known that mediation is a process that allows a couple to be the owners, the architects, the navigators, the dictators of their own future as it relates to divorce and their marital settlement, I would have gone that route. And then I would have chosen Lenore because Lenore's spirit and disposition in a very difficult circumstance is so calming. She's calming, she's competent, she's very, very thoughtful, and she's impartial, which is absolutely necessary in this type of position as a mediator, a divorce attorney, a divorce mediator. So I want to have you enjoy listening to Lenore's perspective on how to make it through the holidays when divorce is in your future. And I think you will agree with me that she's the one you want to go to if you're considering divorce. With that said, welcome, Lenore. Okay, so let's first say hello, and then we'll go back to the slides where you can talk to us about the 5 shifts. So welcome to the webinar, Lenore. Hi.
Hi, Pam. Thank you for all those kind words. I wish I could have been there for you too, because you're an amazing person that I value deeply in my life.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet to say, but I meant every word, and you know that that's true too. So happy holidays, and thank you for doing this webinar for a lot of people who are in need of answers and solutions as they go through the holidays. You're supposed to be cheerful and happy, and sometimes it's not possible to feel that way. And then sometimes we just don't know, what do I do? This is such a difficult period of time for me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to engage with my spouse or soon to be ex, and I need direction. So today you're going to give us that direction that we absolutely need, and I'm grateful for that. So are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Lenore, just before we go into the shifts, tell us why this is one of your favorites.
Because I think it just encapsulates so many syndromes that different families go through or have grown up with. And that spills over into their marriage. And so the way that they've learned to interact through their family, they're interacting with their spouse, or if there has been wounds that their parents have inflicted on them, those unhealed wounds are festering in their own relationship. So I think it, even though it's comedy, it really, it's funny because it's true.
Yes, it's funny because it's true. Absolutely. And obviously, being a divorce mediator and dealing with families, there's a bit of, I don't want to call it therapy in the traditional sense, but therapy that you have to consider because they're bringing all of these challenges and emotional charges to the table based on their divorce and based on the skit too, the truth of the skit.
Yes, very true. And what mediation helps do is it helps validate, that helps the other spouse feel validated by their soon-to-be ex for the things they didn't get or the way they felt unheard during their marriage. And that's a very healing balm.
Mm.
Um, and that's what helps facilitate mediation and helps make it successful.
Very well. Well, let us get into the 5 shifts then. Take us through the first shift, Lenore.
So, kind of what I just said, acknowledge that both of you are feeling similar emotions. So, validate for one another as you're going through this tough time during the holiday season that both of you are feeling sad because your marriage is falling apart. This is triggering old wounds that happened way before the two of you met, and that by acknowledging that with one another, you actually are creating a different kind of camaraderie. I mean, only the two of you realize what it feels like to go through what you're going through. You've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly, and only the two of you can really savor that bittersweetness of this moment together. So instead of being on opposite sides, acknowledge that, yeah, you're both going through this and you're going through it together. And however sad it is, this is a way that you can help each other heal these old wounds, maybe in a way that you couldn't during your marriage.
When you say acknowledge, Lenore, do you mean that one has to say to the other, I know that you might be feeling really awful about what's going on? Or can acknowledge mean I recognize within myself, this is a conversation I'm having with myself about what's going on between my spouse and me?
I think it actually starts internally,
Hmm.
a conversation that you have with yourself to give yourself a different perspective and not take things personally and not be as reactive.
Mhm.
And then if there are those moments that present themselves between you and your ex, you might offer a few kind words,
Mm.
like, this is really tough and this is really sad. I'm sure you're feeling the same way too, but I I don't think it's essential for you to necessarily verbalize it as much as acknowledge it within yourself, because that will create a shift for you in terms of your response to the other person. So if they say or do something that's triggering old wounds, if you're stepped back into that safe space of yourself saying, I know what I'm going through and I'm sure they are going through it too, you're going to be less likely to lash out and escalate the situation.
What you're saying here reminds me of a word that is so powerful and so healing if we're willing to step into it, and it's empathy.
Yes.
Empathy here is critical if you want to make a shift during the holiday. I appreciate this shift. In fact, I'm going to use this shift myself because my family and I are getting together for Christmas. And it would be not only my children and me, but I have invited my former spouse and his wife to dinner in my space. So I'm going to definitely have to use this shift, Lenore.
Yes.
Even though it's over between us, when you still have children between you, it's really not over.
No, it's not. It's never over when you have children. And I mean, that is till you draw your dying breath. Because for your children, you're always their parents and you're their parents together. And, God bless you that you're doing that, because it's a gift that you're giving your child in order for them to heal. And when you are modeling for them a healthier relationship than they may have observed while you were together. And by seeing you model that, you're giving them a set of much healthier relationship tools than were given to you initially when you got together. So, and that's so true. Empathy. Empathy really means you don't feel sorry for the person, but you are commiserating with the person. You understand where they're coming from, and you need to have empathy for yourself too.
Sure.
You know, it starts there. It starts where, you know, I'm feeling sad about this, and it's okay. And it's not because I failed. It's just because it didn't work, you know, for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent. And, you know, there's a lot of voices that are going on in your head about, you know, I messed up. I should have known better. You know, how could I have let this person do that to me? You let all that guilt and shame go. And you don't let it drag you down anymore, and you stand back in your more healed self and set boundaries that I'm not going to do that anymore. And once you do that shift, the toxic tango you once had with that person stops, because you're not dancing that dance anymore with that. You've changed your dance steps, and they have no other choice but to change theirs in response. So it's a very empowering tool that you can have for yourself. And so you're validating not only the other person's feelings, but your own feelings, and forgiving yourself for any faults you think or missteps you made. And when your kids are there, the other thing is, it does remind you it wasn't all bad. You know, you created this beautiful person, and you know that makes your marriage worth it. So
yeah. And before we move on to shift number 2, I just want to, since I introduced my own personal stuff that's I'm going to be experiencing on Christmas Day, I do want to also acknowledge that my former spouse and his wife were both gracious enough to accept the invitation. So there is growth on that end as well. So I think this is a really positive step forward that I want.
oh, you're muted.
This is a positive step forward that I would want for everyone.
Oh, definitely. And believe it or not, it happens more frequently than you think. So God bless you and your ex-spouse that you've, you know, worked through things to the point that you could get to where you can have Christmas together. That's a beautiful gift that you're giving your children. It really is.
Thank you. All right, let's head into shift number 2. Why don't you take us through it, Lenore?
So discharge pain without blame. So again, it's acknowledgement and it's ownership. So, you know, if someone has hurt me, or, you know, someone says something in the moment, there's a couple ways that you can handle it. You can say, I didn't appreciate that comment, and just leave it at that. Or if someone is going down a path and you just don't want to engage in that conversation, you can just remove yourself too. You can say, I got to go talk to Aunt Sarah, or, oh, I want to freshen my drink. You know, so there's a couple ways to do that. But again, it's acknowledging that there was hurt, and acknowledging that, you know, maybe each of you could have done things differently, but you can't, you may not get what you need from the other spouse in that regard, but you certainly can give a voice to your pain.
Yeah. And I love this shift, Lenore, because when you blame, you really cannot take responsibility. And when you can't take responsibility, you're always a victim, and you will always, and I hate using extremes like that, but you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck where you don't want to be. You're hurt, you're upset, you're angry, because when you can't take responsibility for what you feel, you can't move through it.
No, you can't, and you lose control. If
Yeah.
you're handing over your power by
Yes.
blaming somebody else. But if you say, this is my pain, this is how it was caused, and I'm taking control over how I'm going to heal it. Either I'm not going to let you do that to me anymore, or, you know, or that's not a reflection on who I really am, and I'm not going to let you define who I am by that pain. And also, really, when somebody blames you for something or you blame somebody else for something, you're carrying around their baggage.
Mm.
In whatever way somebody's hurt you, if you don't let go of that, you're continuing to carry the baggage that they've unloaded on you for saying or doing whatever they did. That's why people hurt one another. It's a discharge. They don't want to carry it anymore, so they're going to dump all that emotional baggage into your wagon. And you can decide whether to keep dragging it along with you or dump it. And so that's where you take control over it. You don't continue to hang on to it. Either you let it go and realize they're never going to acknowledge it, or you tell them and say, I didn't appreciate that. I just want to let you know, and end it there. Or if they try and do the same thing again, either cut off the conversation, cut off the relationship, but do not re-engage, because they're trying to get you to get back into that toxic tango, because that's what's familiar to them. People like to continue to do what they're familiar with. It feels safe. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't.
I love that, toxic tango. It's good. I like that. All right,
and that's what they do.
Yeah. Let's move into shift number 3.
Okay, so commit to peace even when peace is hard. And I think we're building on things with each shift.
Yes.
So yeah, you're feeling angry. You really want to discharge. However, what is it you really are trying to achieve? Peace. So you have to recenter yourself, not dissipate your energy, and say, is this really something that I want to invite back into my life? Or do I want to stay here, centered, peaceful, and not let any of this other stuff disrupt me? That video, this SNL video is great. It shows all the ways people try and trigger you, within family dynamics. Now, do you engage in that and continue that pattern? Or do you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going there. I'm not getting back on the crazy train.
Yeah. Yeah. And, commit to peace, even when peace is hard, and even when you don't quite know what peace looks like. Just commit to it in the absence of the clarity of what peace looks like, because peace at least feels good, even if you don't know exactly how to play it out. Just committing to it feels good.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to define what you want by what you don't want.
Yes.
And so, it might be just as simple as, I don't want to go there anymore. And when you feel that tug, that pit in your stomach, that stab to your heart, you have to take a deep breath, give your count to 3, and, decide how you're going to get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah.
And it might be just, you have a little mantra that says, I won't engage. I won't engage.
Yeah. Right. And practice that before you get to the celebration, before things happen, because it's sometimes difficult to do it in the moment without having practiced it.
Exactly. Have that, that automatic disengage button already set. And just know that's your go-to. Like, just know when it feels that way, I'm getting up, I'm going to get a drink or whatever. Just know that means I won't engage. And it doesn't, it doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, it might be as simple as you're pinching your hand, and, that's something that you set in your mind, that as I'm getting escalated, pinch my hand, and that will remind me, I need to go fresh my drink. I need to take a walk, whatever it is.
Yeah, and
You know,
what would be really I have this image in my head. You know the Staples commercial, and that's that red button you hit.
yep.
That's it. Whatever the saying is. Okay, that's done. Or that was easy, or something.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to get your Staples. That was easy button to remind yourself. Then do
Mhm.
it.
And do
Then
it. Yeah. And those are kind of, they're biofeedback kind of
yeah.
techniques that you know are standard things.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, sometimes the simplest thing is the most effective.
Nice, nice. All right, then let's go into shift 4. Ooh, my favorite.
Use the secret weapon in financial decisions. So this is something that I love. It's called the game theory, and it was developed by Professor Nash, who was the subject of the movie It's Beautiful, not it, it, A Beautiful Mind. And his theory is that you can get the most from a situation by looking at what solution is going to benefit everyone. You don't look at the solution as being what's going to benefit me more, what's going to benefit the other person more. You look at the solution that's going to be the most beneficial for everyone involved. And so in mediation, especially in the financial situation, that's what you're looking at. You have limited resources, and what's going to be the best way to distribute them so that everybody wins, so that each of you doesn't end up feeling resentful, so that the children are provided for, and so that you don't spend your time basically dissipating what you've worked really hard for to make sure you win and the other person loses. And so you know, Christmas is expensive, and if you were looking for somebody to contribute in some way, shape, or form with travel or gifts or things like that, and you're going back to, well, I did this last time, you should do that this time, that's not the way to look at it. What you're supposed to, what the best important thing to look at, especially where children are concerned, is what can we do to make this the best Christmas for our child together?
Mm.
And when you look at it that way, when you look at how you can spread this out so that your child benefits, then everybody benefits. I mean, what better gift can you give yourself than to make your kid happy on Christmas?
Yeah.
There's nothing that anything can buy. There's no winning any battle that compares to that. And that's a memory that your child has for the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
You know, in my house, I have this tree that I little artificial tree for my grandmother that from the time I was a little girl, and it's 3 feet tall, was in my grandmother's house. And when she passed away, I brought it to my house. And it takes us, I'm not kidding you, probably 12, 15 hours to decorate this little tiny tree, because every ornament on that tree we got from the time my son was born, with pictures, and I love putting that tree up because every ornament reminds me of a special time that we had together, and my son and my husband helped me put it up. But those ornaments are just symbolic of those memories, and that's the best gift you can give your child, are those beautiful Christmas memories. They mark such a special time in a child's life, and I think we all have them in our life. And again, that is the game theory. Everybody wins with that, and that's something that's passed on from one generation to the next, just like my grandmother's little tree.
Ah, love it. Love it. All right. Well, let's go on to shift 5.
Take the power to control your destiny.
Mm.
And again, this is the common thread that we have going through all of this. You're in control. You're in the driver's seat. You don't have to let anybody else tweak you, engage you, manipulate you. You decide how you want to respond. And if you respond in a way that's angering, or you get into a fight with somebody, you've given away your power, you've given away your control, you've allowed them to manipulate you.
Mm.
And who wants that on Christmas? You know, that certainly isn't a way that anybody wants to spend Christmas, or any kind of a Christmas memory that they want. So don't let somebody, you know, rain on your parade. Don't let somebody derail your Christmas. You're in control. If they have issues and they want to be angry and they want to just live in that nasty place, okay, let them live there. Close the door and keep walking.
I like this shift because I like the word you chose, power, because that means for those who think they are powerless, they are not. You actually have the power to control your future. And so take that power. Don't let it stay on the table. I mean, you're leaving prime real estate on the table when you leave your power there. You take it and use it to make a difference for what in what you want for your future and the future of your family. No one is powerless unless they choose to be.
Exactly. It is a choice, and sometimes it's a really difficult choice. It's not as easy as you want to think it is. And it really comes from being very, very self-aware of what's going on, where your pain is, who's triggering you, and, you know, and then being self-confident enough to know that I could do this, and I deserve this, and I don't deserve to have anybody, you know, cause me any more pain.
Mhm, mhm. And these shifts, I think, if one is courageous enough to take on these shifts and to make them, that sets them in a great position when they do come to mediation with you, right, Lenore?
Oh, certainly, because they're coming in a more healed state.
Mm,
Anything that anybody can do to heal their wounds before they come to mediation is going to make mediation much more productive. And believe it or not, mediation itself is a healing exercise.
ooh, really? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's an arena where I, as a facilitator, help each of you acknowledge what each of you has contributed to the marriage, um, what each of you has enjoyed, endured during the marriage, and also acknowledging what each of you need to move forward from the marriage to feel empowered and validated, and that, you know, what you built together, you didn't take a jackhammer to.
Mhm.
What you built together, you're sharing, so that each of you has what you need to move forward and enjoy the rest of your life. You take out the blame, you take out the anger, you take out the accusations, and you allow one another to move forward in a way that, yeah, we loved one another at some point, but we're not good for one another, and that's okay. And we both build something together, and we're going to share it, because I still respect you, and in some way I still love you. I just can't live with you.
Mhm.
And how much better it is to close that wound in that way, instead of leaving it festering and being part of the rest of the walking wounded, who simply goes on hurting other people because they're hurting.
Mhm.
um it's a way that you make, in your healed state, you can make a bigger difference in the world, and not only in your own life but in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that leads us to your offer. I think you have something special you want to offer those who are listening and watching that I think is quite valuable. Share with us what it is.
I would love to offer anyone who is listening and interested a 30-minute complimentary clarity session, which in which I will help you figure out what it is you're looking for as your marriage is unraveling. What resolution would you like to see? What options are there for you to explore as your marriage is coming to an end, so that you have the resolution that you need to move forward. And we will talk in general about what things you can look into in order for you to move forward in a healthier way, as you uncouple with your spouse.
And Lenore, in this offer, can one spouse have the session if the other spouse is not ready or interested? Can they still have it with you, or do both have to show up for the clarity session?
It can be individual or joint. It doesn't have to be joint. If it's individual, it would be more general. It wouldn't be as much specific about, say, your assets and things like that. But either way, and it usually it is just one spouse that comes to me for these kind of clarity sessions. And from there, they can decide whether or not mediation might be a good option, or if they want to invite their spouse to another session, a consultation session, where I can discuss with them more in depth what their options might be to peacefully uncouple.
And how would they reach you to schedule a clarity session, Lenore?
There is a link to schedule directly on my calendar, or they can email me. They can go to my website and contact me through my website, or they can call or text me on my cell phone, 215-470-3121. And we can do it that way.
And why don't you give us your website?
My website is www.divorcedonedifferentlypa.com.
And if someone is in another state, Lenore, and really wants a clarity session with you and talk to you about what they're going through, can they also, and they're not in PA, can they call you? Can they schedule time with you? How would that work?
Most definitely. I cannot necessarily give them a full program from a legal standpoint, but I certainly can help them in terms of clarity and in terms of mediation to facilitate discussions between them and their estranged spouse.
So does that mean that you could actually engage in sort of like a coaching session? Let's say if they aren't in PA and they really want to work with you in some capacity, could you serve as a mediation coach, so to speak, if they wanted to retain you for those services? Could you do that?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. I can certainly help them, because I've seen what it is with so many couples, what they're going through. I can help them change their perspective and take a different approach. I mean, as a family lawyer, I coached my clients through quite a bit of those situations. So yeah. Most definitely.
Well, I will put in the link here, or in the information here, the website that you just shared with us, your phone number, as well as the link to your calendar, so those who are interested can go right to it and spend some time with you, which is worth every minute, people, let me tell you. Lenore, is there anything else you want to share with us that I did not ask you? Any final thoughts about the upcoming holidays and what families might be facing, and anything else that you might think is valuable?
Just that, peace on earth. Just remember that, peace on earth. Nothing is so big and so painful that you can't find a way to peacefully walk through it. There's enough pain in the world. And if you try to cause pain to someone else, ultimately, you're just hurting yourself. And I know that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But this is a time of this is a time of year, and this is a time in our history where peace is such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
And so be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. That's always my goal.
I love it. Love it. Well, Lenore, thank you so much for the 5 shifts. And I appreciate you being with me today. Again, the shifts for me, they will never get old because we all need to shift. Even if we are on the other side of divorce, we still need to make some changes to keep growing and keep bringing peace on earth.
Most definitely, most definitely. And I will be holding space for you and your family on Christmas Day. And I hope it is everything that you hope and dream it could be on the other side.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Thanks so much, Lenore, and see you soon.
See you.